Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Lucas.
and we are two aspiring filmmakers making unnecessary commentary on famous movies.
Each week, we will randomly select a film to analyze, discuss, and review.
We will select the film at the end of each podcast, so you will have ample time to watch the movie before the next episode.
We are slightly qualified film students. Hello!
Hello! Welcome back to another episode of Slightly Qualified Film Students.
Yes, coming in today with Trainspotting from 1996.
First, or not our first British film. What am I saying? We watched Brazil. But like a quintessential British 90s film. I mean, this thing is a huge hit. One of the best performing films we've done so far. Yeah, it's really it's a great 90s film. It almost reminds me of a Guy Ritchie movie in a lot of ways. I mean, it could just be the British accents, but I love Snatch and Lock, Stock, and this just has similar vibes. All the characters have very similar vibes to that. It's probably just the accents, but you know.
Yeah, so I got a plot summary here. We have Renton is a drug addict who tries to mend his ways by moving to London and starting life afresh. He, however, is pulled back into the world of addiction by his friends. This was my first time watching Trainspotting. Had not seen it before. And I really liked this movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty... It's not necessarily the most impressive film on any technical aspects, but it has a lot of heart, and it packs a good punch for only being 90 minutes.
And it's very entertaining. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was very funny.
For sure.
Very funny film. I think I laughed the most out of any films we have done so far watching this movie.
Yeah, it's a great dark comedy.
Great dark comedy.
Kind of the definition. Falls right into that genre.
Yeah.
It's very, very mature themes, but they make fun of it, so...
Yeah.
You gotta get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah. So, I guess let's just hop into it. Let's do some standout scenes.
Sure thing. Okay. My standout scene is pretty early on in the film, like 30 minutes in. And it's the scene in the nightclub where Renton is trying to find a girl, and all his friends are, making out with their significant others, and Renton is, looking around the club. And I just really love how that scene is edited to the music, which is, this song that's like, Temptation, and it's... I don't know. It's a hilarious scene. It's edited really great. And I also love the cinematography in these scenes where they're in the clubs because there's just these flashing neon lights everywhere. And I just think that technically it's a great scene. It's also hilarious. Yeah. And then it leads into a great conversation. Also, it's just a great, funny scene. But yeah, I mean... I like a lot of moments in this film. I think a close second would be the scene where Sick Boy and Renton are like using the BB gun. Just because I think that scene is hilarious. And also Sick Boy gives some deep quotes. It's a great outlook on life. But yeah, that's my standout scene.
Yeah, fitting that I took your standout scene last week and you took mine this week.
Nice.
Yeah. Club sequence was my standout scene. I just think it just looked really nice. All the different colors, and the location was really cool with all the different colored walls, graffiti. Okay, so then I guess I will choose the OD scene, I guess.
Yeah.
I like that scene just because it's like really trippy, very experimental. Like when he sinks into the carpet and the carpet kind of swallows him up, and then you're watching it through his perspective with like the sides of the carpet on either side of the frame. I think it was a very cool scene. It was done like in a very comedic way, even though he was like ODing.
Yeah.
And it's not something you see very often. in films about.
Because I mean, they're just dragging him along the ground.
Yeah, he just leaves him there for
and,
the
like
taxi.
stuffing him into the taxi. Yeah,
takes him to the hospital. Yeah, I really like that scene. Yeah, that would be a close second for me for standout scenes.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean this film has a lot of just really funny one-offs. It almost feels like just a bunch of different moments in this character's life that are just like loosely pieced together. Like you have his relationship with the underage girl on the side of his like addiction problems, but like it's also a story about him, selling like 2 kilos of heroin. Like there's just a lot of different things going on in his life, and I really like how it's just a mashup of all these crazy things happening to him.
Yeah,
and he doesn't handle it very well. Yeah, it's just a great quick paced film.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
yeah,
it's been refreshing. So I would highly recommend you check it out. It's a bit hard to stream.
Very hard.
If you have BritBox, you can watch it there, but
yeah,
it's not even on iTunes.
Yeah.
So.
But the second Trainspotting is everywhere, which I'm intrigued to watch the second one now.
Me too. I haven't
seen
it. I didn't even know it existed, but I kind of want to check it out now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's do some audience questions then. We got a few. So this first one comes from Instagram. This is a little weird question here.
Okay.
Which character in this film reminds you the most about yourself?
Damn.
Kind of weird question, because I wouldn't say I relate to many of these characters.
I don't know how much I relate to... Yeah. I wouldn't say I really relate that much. I mean, I guess... It's a tough question. But I mean, I think I would say probably Tommy. He just doesn't really... I mean, obviously up until he gets broken up with and then falls into addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I relate to him just because he's the only one who doesn't do heroin at the start. I'm just saying because he's a very passive person. Like, he doesn't initiate any conflict. He doesn't, get into any arguments. He's just kind of hanging out with his friends. But because you have pretty much every other character at some point, does some, I don't know, initiates some violence or, gets into arguments. But Tommy is just kind of the guy in the friend group who's happy-go-lucky, and he's just kind of there. And
yeah.
I mean, although I don't know, I don't really think I relate to that hard to many of the characters.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, like, Ewan McGregor's character's somewhat relatable to, like, him just, like, trying to get out, and then he ends up, like, becoming a real estate agent. Like, yeah, but I think... It's hard to relate to any of these characters, really, because the film is so the film was more focused on their actual like characters and their lives, maybe, but it's so focused on just like the addiction that you don't get a lot of background on a lot of these characters. Yeah. Let's see, what's another one? Okay, so name one more movie. So basically, what was your favorite Ewan McGregor movie besides Trainspotting?
Okay. I mean, I think Moulin Rouge, however you pronounce it, is a great film. But I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna say like him in Star Wars. I'm gonna say like The Phantom Menace or something, just because those movies are my childhood. Everyone hates on the prequels, but I really like the prequels. Just because those were the films that like came out, and I was watching when I was like 5. So
yeah,
I feel like I have the same nostalgia towards them that the older generation has towards the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those films, so I'll say that.
I'd probably say Moulin Rouge. Because, I mean, I think that I have a lot of nostalgia with that film, too. Probably
True.
more than the Star Wars films, actually, because Moulin Rouge is like my parents' favorite movie. So I
Mm,
watched that movie from the time I was like 8. I was like watching it all the time.
damn.
So that yeah,
Interesting.
that one or Big Fish. Like I really love Big Fish.
I haven't seen Big Fish. I need to watch Big Fish.
Yeah, I like that movie.
But I mean, Obi-Wan, he's the Obi-Wan of my childhood. So, uh, I'm saying like the whole prequel
Whole
trilogy is
prequel
my favorite
trilogy.
Ewan McGregor. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen it the most of all his films.
Yeah,
I've probably
fair,
watched them like 10 times each.
fair. Yeah. Okay, cool. Next question. We got agree or disagree with this statement. Quote,
Okay.
Trainspotting is a bad influence on teenagers as it completely glamorizes and condones drug use. End quote. Well, I don't think it condones
Disagree.
I don't think it condones or glamorizes drug use at all. I feel like
No,
people
it really doesn't.
anytime
It's the opposite.
anytime there's a movie or TV show about something, people always say it glamorizes it. That's not what the word glamorize means.
Yeah.
It
I
like
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's clearly a film about why you shouldn't do drugs, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the the OD like the scene of or just the sequence where he goes through withdrawals on his bed, uh, and even just at the beginning when he's talking about his relationship with it,
Mhm.
it's not like he's saying that it's a good thing that that it takes all his pain away or whatever his whatever he's saying about it.
Yeah.
He's not saying like, oh yeah, it's great, because obviously he says everybody who does it doesn't want to do it. So I would say it's like the opposite. I disagree with that statement.
Yeah, and teenagers are gonna like watch this movie and think that heroin's cool. That's on them, man. That's their problem. They got something wrong with them already going into this
Yeah,
film. Because anyone who watches this movie should be able to understand that what's happening is awful. So if anyone does watch
yeah.
this movie and
You
is
don't
like,
want it.
"Damn, that's cool," then
Yo, that looks fun. That looks like
they
I
need to
should
get
try
their
that.
brain checked because that's not the movie's fault. That's the kid's fault at that point. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So we got one more question.
Nice.
Sick boy claims that in life there are no friends, just associates. What does this show about the life and mind frame of an addict?
I mean, Sick Boy in general just doesn't really trust anybody. Like, even at the end of the film, like, you see him say that he would have taken the bag if the other two characters had gone to the washroom.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I think it just shows that they're. I don't want to generalize and, make a statement about uh, real life nonfiction addicts, but I think for his character, yeah, he just doesn't really trust. Basically, heroin has ruined his ability to have like deep relationships with people
Mm-hmm.
because he just really craves. Like his priority is to, get his hits of heroin.
Yeah.
So I think that it's kind of just made it so he can't really have a meaningful and deep relationship with someone past that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Well, that wraps up our intro pretty much. So let's take a quick break and then we'll just hop right into the review. Okay, we are back. We're heading into the review.
Yeah.
Story and originality
First off,
out of
yeah,
10.
story and originality. Jump right into it. Yeah, I mean, I think that the story here, it's a great character study of this man Renton, uh, this drug addict, but he really he wants to get out of his situation. He tries to escape it. I mean, it's pretty much just what the plot summary, like it really just pulls off, the character and the vibe of Renton so well.
Yeah.
The audience, like when you're seeing this world through Renton's view, I just find that
Mm-hmm.
like even though what he's doing isn't necessarily relatable, like I feel like I can't really relate to Renton, but you definitely have a lot of sympathy for him, and you feel for him, and you want to see him succeed. You really want to see him battle his addiction and come out on top.
Yeah.
And I also just find that you like understand where he's coming from though, because he does have a tougher life, and I feel like that in general this is just a great, almost like a cautionary tale, like a anti-drug story, but also it doesn't take itself that seriously. It knows that it's a dark comedy, so it doesn't really push that too hard, and it's just a joke fest. It's there for the laughs.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do have the themes of anti-drugs and some very heavy themes actually, with Tommy's death and the ODs. But I mean, overall, I think that it's a really great story. Definitely steers you away from heroin. Uh, and I think it's paced really well. I think that the story beats are all on great points. I don't think there's any scenes that are unnecessarily there. Like, that's screenplay too, but I mean, I think that this thing is concise and just really packs it all into 90 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a good story. It's fun. It's funny. I like that, it's a movie about really really dark, controversial subject matter, and yet they just don't really care, and they're just not taking themselves seriously. They're just making jokes about it, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to do a dark comedy. Yeah, I really like this story. It was very entertaining. Yeah, I mean, my only thing is that I feel like it's a little basic at some points. Like, I feel like the story doesn't really dive that deep into anything for that matter. It's kind of just like glimpsing over everything, and it doesn't really
Yeah.
get into it that much.
Yeah.
Which isn't
I
a
agree.
bad thing, but I feel like it could have gone a little deeper, or even
Mm-hmm.
just like not deeper into like drugs, but just deeper into some of the characters even. Um,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
especially just if we had like maybe some backstory or just more insight into Renton's personal life, because like up until he moves to London, we really don't see anything that he does other than like hang out with his friends and do heroin.
yeah,
Like you don't get to see maybe what happened, or if he has a job, or like really anything. So I feel like yeah, it's like you do. I feel like Renton is such a character that you have sympathy for, and they could have taken that so much further if they just deepened him like a little bit.
right,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, and I mean in terms of originality, this thing is pretty original. I mean, I haven't at the same, like, it's very basic, but they're
hmm,
definitely not copying anything or doing anything again. So I'd say it's
yeah,
pretty good in terms of originality. It isn't adapted from a book, but
yeah. I think it's pretty original because like even though it is a story we've seen like a few times before, it's doing it in a completely different way. In a comedy
hmm,
format, which is very
exactly.
original. Yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10 for story and originality.
Same here, 8 out of 10. Honestly, the comedy, like the fact that this is more of a comedy, brings it up because it's not taking itself that seriously. Like if this was actually more of like a character study and a drama, then it would score way lower because they didn't get into his character that much. But I think
Hmm.
for their purposes, they didn't need to that much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, let's move into beginning out of 5. I actually like this beginning. I feel like it's very fast
yeah,
paced. It gets
same,
into it really quickly, and it doesn't really like take its time, which I like. It's not about developing the characters. It's like you get a quick glimpse of everyone, and then you're just in it right away.
exactly.
And I like that.
I like the open. I love the opening monologue. I mean, it's a pretty iconic like opening monologue. Like in general, I don't like narration, and I feel like I have a big problem with the narration in this film in general. But in this opening, uh, I really like the narration. His get a job, get this, get that, that whole monologue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love the way it's edited, super fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I just, given some nice name title cards so I don't have to learn anybody's name from dialogue. I just know it already. It's always
Yep.
nice, makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
Uh, and I like some of these tracking shots too. I mean, it's not
Mm-hmm.
shot bad, especially once they actually are in like the Mother Superior's apartment, like the heroin den. They have
Mm-hmm.
these really low tracking shots, like from the character's feet,
Yeah.
and it makes for some nice, interesting tracking shots. And yeah, I also love that it just gets right into that subject matter right away. It just boom. First scene is like them shooting up. So
Yeah.
like this film is quick to the point, and I really like that.
Yeah. I give it a 4 out of 5 for beginning.
Yeah, same here. 4% out of 5. I like a fast paced beginning. I
Yeah,
like
me
that
too.
that quick setup.
Yeah, I like when it just throws you in right away. Kind of like Children of Men, just like you're
Exactly.
in the world right
Bomb.
away.
Yep.
Ending out of 5. Now, I felt like this ending was kind of underwhelming. Um,
Yeah.
I just
It's
it's
not my
not that it was
favorite.
bad. It's not that it was a bad ending. It left it ambiguous enough for me. It was just like I feel like they could have done a lot more. It could have been a lot more climatic, and instead it was kind of just like he grabs some money and he just like walks off into the sunset, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I mean, I kind of almost wish that they ended this uh on a bad note, like for instance, say after they cause that bar fight and they leave the dude like bleeding on the ground, maybe like the police arrest them or something, and you have like a not happy ending, because I feel like that would have fit the film uh pretty well. Because I mean, it seems so weird to me that this character Renton, who we've seen so far has been decently caring, like he just kind of up and leaves.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
I get that he is kind of like, oh, my friends are not great people,
but
but
I was like, I would think he would just take his share and leave, not take all of it, completely rip them
exactly,
off.
yeah,
And like
I don't know,
now, I mean, technically, I guess Robert Carlyle's character would have gotten arrested because he was wanted, and then the police showed up to the room. So it's kind of
yeah,
assumed he did get arrested.
yeah, I don't know. I
Um,
like, to me, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the ending, but I just feel like they could have done a lot more to make it memorable.
hmm.
Like when you finish a film and you're just like, damn, what a good ending. Like that's just not really what happens here. I feel like the film just kind of hits its climax and then just kind of sputters out. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do like that they kind of reuse the monologue though, uh, from the opening, and they have him say like a modified version at the end. I like that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I give it a
I gave it
3
a
out of
three
5.
percent. It's
Yeah.
just average. It's not good, but it's not really bad.
Hmm.
So, pretty much in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Screenplay and dialogue out of 8. Now, Trainspotting got nominated for Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards. Um,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
it's a fun screenplay.
yeah, I totally think it's deserving of its Oscar nom, just because like I think that the characters, while they're not that deep, they're just hilarious.
Hmm.
I love how diverse they all are. They all are such totally different characters, and yet they all have the same like addiction, and so they're all kind of brought together as this makeshift squad of like just delinquents. Yeah, I mean it's just a hilarious combo. You got your token dumb guy, you got your token like good guy, your kind of mixed protagonist. You got the guy who starts fights, like you got it all.
Yep.
And it's just a great ensemble vibe that this screenplay gives off.
Yeah. Yeah, and the dialogue is really good. I like how they play off of each other. And I think my problem with this is going to be the same as yours, and that's a little bit too much narration, a little
Yeah,
too much voiceover. But I will say that in this film, it didn't bother me as much as voiceover narration usually does. And I think the
yeah,
main reason for that is that the voiceover in this film, it's used more for comedic value and less
yeah,
for
exactly. It doesn't
um,
develop the story, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. When you use voiceover narration to tell the audience stuff, just because, you can't be bothered to show it visually because narration is basically lazy filmmaking because you can
Yeah.
show anything and then talk over it and people will know what it is. Whereas this film, it does it a little bit, but mainly voiceover it's for comedic value. And
Yeah.
that's why it didn't bother me as much as it usually would. Still bothered me a little bit though.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily bother me. Yeah, same. I kind of feel the same. I wasn't really finding myself like annoyed by it. I just think that at the end of the day, like it's gonna dock like maybe a point, just because I feel like it's just better if you can make those jokes without having to do narration. But I didn't necessarily think that this was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of agree with your stance, and I mean, I just really love these characters. I think they have a lot of heart. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, there's just some really funny scenes that are really only there for comedic purposes, and like sometimes that would bother me, but not really here.
Yeah.
Like you have that job interview with the leisure company where
Mm-hmm.
he's on speed like that. That's just such a funny scene that totally didn't need to be there, but I'm happy
Yeah.
that they added it. I'm happy that they add these little one-off scenes that are just hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 8. I actually think it's a very strong screenplay.
same. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't really have any pacing issues. I love how concise it is. It just feels very tight. And none of the
Uh-huh.
scenes really overstay their welcome. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate it for that.
Yeah, okay. Well, soundtrack out of 7.
See,
Uh,
I have such a mixed relationship with this soundtrack.
okay. Let's hear it.
Because I really love, like, 50% of these songs are absolute bangers and I love them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just have like these weird techno like beats over some intense moments, and it just makes no sense to me why would you use that. Like even in the OD scene they have like this like chill EDM beat on it.
Yeah.
Uh and I'm just like, why? Just like you have, or sorry, not on the OD scene, on the withdrawal scene.
Yeah.
On the OD scene they have that great song. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I just have such a mixed relationship because some of the songs I love, and some of the songs I just don't feel at all. Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate though that they got that practical music in the clubs, and it actually changes like along with what they're saying, how music changes, people change, that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I like the soundtrack. I mean, I didn't really know any of the songs, but I will say that I think it was fitting. And honestly, the EDM stuff didn't bother me because I thought it was kind of funny. It was like ironic that you're watching someone go through withdrawal and then you just got like
hmm,
this heavy like electronic beat. I actually thought it was kind of funny. Added some comedy to that scene.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, like for me, I love Iggy Pop,
mhm.
and I love Lou Reed, and I like that the artists that they're referencing in the film are the artists that they're listening to, or like the part of the
Mhm.
soundtrack. So like they
Yeah.
have Lust for Life, and my personal favorite moment is Perfect Day, which plays over the OD, where they're saying, oh, it's
Yeah.
very ironic, obviously, because it's not the perfect day. But yeah, then the other, like I like half of the soundtrack is amazing, and the other half I just wasn't really feeling. Um, and I like sometimes it can be argued that it could fit, but I'm also partially marking soundtrack just purely on enjoyment of the actual music, and
Right.
like it's a mix of does it fit the vibe, but also is it just a good song.
Mhm.
So for that, I gave it a 5% out of 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I give it a 6 out of 7 because I liked the music. I was jamming.
Yeah,
Um,
fair enough.
yeah, fair.
I really like the soundtrack, but it's just the weird EDM brought it down 1 point for me.
Fair, fair, fair. Okay, well, let's move into production design. Oh, wait, no.
hmm
Wait, yeah, we are.
Yeah,
Costumes
yeah.
and set, out of 6.
Okay,
Uh,
I think that this got some interesting production design. I think that
It does. It does.
yeah, I like that they have this, obviously, like for the heroin ridden junkies. They got these really torn up apartments, and just these nasty looking areas. Everything about this film in terms of production design is like so grimy,
Yeah.
and honestly just disgusting. And I love that. I love that they went there with it.
Yeah, I really like the production design in this film and just like the focus on colors. Like that one shot where he walks past this like apartment or like I guess not an apartment, it's like a townhouse kind of thing. And all the blinds are like different colors and he stands there and it's like a white apartment and every window has different colored blinds.
Yeah.
It just looks so cool. Like I mean the washroom that he goes into, that's also decoration and that is nasty, but it looked so good at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The worst
I mean
toilet in Scotland.
the production
And
design isn't insane in this film, but it's actually pretty good. Like the apartment that they go to, like the, I don't know. I guess it was an apartment where
Mother
they're all like
Superiors.
getting high, where the
Yeah.
baby dies. Like,
And I one thing I like about that apartment is that they have like this ominous red window behind Mother Superior.
Yeah.
Where he would cook up like
and like torn out walls and stuff. It looks really cool. I also like the colors that they paint the walls and the wallpapers they use. They're very colorful and very like they contrast with the costumes that they're wearing, like the wallpapers that they use in the club with all these like bright purple walls. It's pretty cool. I like the set decoration quite a bit. I mean, the only thing bringing this down for me is I don't think the costumes were all that like interesting. I feel like they could have been a bit more like, I don't know, just a bit more cool. You have some such really like odd and focused characters. You could have really done some stuff with some of their outfits.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah,
but I like that. I like that they give a lot of personalities to these apartments by how beat up the walls are and stuff. Because at like all these places, they have like no furniture. They just have these like dirty mattresses and stuff.
yeah.
So that like I love the empty feeling that they all have, and then I
Yeah.
love the contrast with that. And then when Renton finally moves to London, and he just has like a packed apartment, and then everybody just kind of crashes at his place and ruins it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I gave it a 5% out of 6.
Me too.
really
5
liked
out
it.
of 6.
Yeah.
Much higher than I thought it was going to get too.
True. I mean, the
yeah.
budget's not that insane.
Mhm.
Yeah, for when it was released.
Okay, location selection out of 6. Now, I really like the location selection in this film.
Yeah, same. It's very purposeful.
Yeah. It's subtle, but really strong. Like all the apartments they choose. Yes, a lot of it's set decoration, but they all seem really fitting to each character.
Yeah.
That like outdoor area they go to with the mountains and the grassland. So nice. Such a nice location where the train track is. It's fantastic. Yeah, like I was talking about the apartments they walk by. I mean, they styled it up with the blinds and stuff, but still that like the white houses that they walk by that are very like they like contrast these characters so much because they look so gritty and then the houses look actually really nice in the background. And the clubs, I mean, every club and bar that they chose were like top notch with these they're just not your average looking bars. They look so much slimier and gritty with either like weird pictures on the wall or graffiti all over the place. It just feels
it's like the kind
every
of like
location
the
felt
opposite.
very strong.
It's like it's almost similar to Good Will Hunting in that these characters converse, or like Raging Bull where they have a lot of scenes at the restaurant or at the bar, but contrasting to those films, this film just picks these like dirty clubs, and they, like all these fights breaking out and just
Mm-hmm.
Like it just seems like an atmosphere you wouldn't want to be in, and that's kind of like the whole point of this film. I feel like what they were trying to get across with the production design is just making that kind of lifestyle look as unappealing as possible. And I mean, they
Yeah.
kind of succeeded. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I also like another location that I really love is outside of the club. Um, they I don't know, the club just has a
Yeah.
really like bright
Yeah. I
red
agree.
wall, and they frame it super
Mm-hmm.
nicely. Like, mwah.
Yeah. What'd you give it?
I gave it another 5% out of 6. Not perfect, but I think that the production design and location selection was very purposeful and just really amplified the story. And yeah, loved it.
Okay. I gave it a 6 out of 6 for location
Hey,
selection.
there you
Cause
go.
I don't know. I felt even though they might not have been like quote unquote beautiful locations, I feel like for the purpose of the film, they were spot on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough.
6 out of 6.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
yeah.
take a quick break and then we'll come back for the second half of the review. All right,
Okay.
hopping into cinematography out of 10%. Love this category.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I kind of I want to give the cinematography the benefit of the doubt. Um, I do like the movement and all that, and the framing that they have in this film. But I don't know. I feel like they use too many Dutch angles for me. I don't know if you remember the Inglorious Bastards episode where I roasted the Dutch angle. Uh, but if not, then yeah, I'm not a fan of the Dutch angles.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them in this film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like how they look. Like I get that they kind of give the like that off-putting trippy aesthetic, but I just think they look so not cinematic. Like they just really make me hate the look of the film when they use hella Dutch angles. And like sometimes I appreciated it here, like when he was going through with his withdrawals, then I was okay with it. But when you're having two characters talking to each other, just keep
Hmm.
that camera straight.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't like Dutch angles. I didn't actually notice them all too much in this movie. Um, I guess they weren't insanely obvious to me, but
No, they're not like
yeah,
45
they're
degrees,
not
but
like
I mean the camera's
four.
not upright.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I didn't mind cinematography. I like the movement this camera uses. I like the tracking shots. I like the angling of the shots. I actually like the framing quite a bit. Um,
yeah.
like there's a shot where the guy goes into the washroom. They're gonna go and beat him up and take his money, and they're all sitting at this like bar counter, and then the camera slowly dollies back, and they all walk like some like perfectly around the bar counter, and it just looks so
Yeah.
nice with the framing and
I
the
love
camera
yeah.
movement. And it's just that slight dolly, that move that makes that shot just feel so nice. They use a lot of dolly
Mhm.
movement in this film, which I like. I like a good dolly shot. Um, we get
Same.
some nice like just some overall decent looking shots. I mean, nothing's great in my opinion, but I will say that the lighting is pretty good in this movie. I really like the shadows that
Yeah.
are used. I like the very colorful lighting. We have lots of red and green lighting throughout this film, which is
Mhm.
very cool. And yeah, I like the wide angle lens on this film. Honestly,
Yeah.
usually I like a lot of bokeh, but for this film, there weren't any chances, first of all, to get that much bokeh. It's not like the life of
There was a few bokeh shots. I did
yeah,
notice a
there's a
few.
few, but like it's not like the Life Aquatic where I'm like you could get so much bokeh here, but you're just not doing it. This film, there weren't a lot of moments where there was like lights in the background, so I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay, you don't really need the bokeh. And the wide angle works for this film because it's about drug addicts, so it's kind of off putting, and it kind of gets you in their mind, and it trips you out, and it works, especially with the close-up wide angle. You get that like fishbowl effect, which definitely
Yeah,
works for this film.
it's very similar to the Brazil cinematography, I would say, um,
Yeah,
where they use that really ultra wide
yeah,
angle lens. Maybe it's a British thing, because I mean Guy Ritchie does that too in his early stuff.
yeah, maybe.
In Lock Stock, they use that wide angle lens. I mean, I think that's just the look. But yeah, I think that like the shots, there was nothing amazing, but I do really like the practical lighting that's in a lot of this film, especially in these like very dingy, dark apartments. I like that it doesn't really look like they use that 3-point lighting that we've come to know and overuse today.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to just make these to like not flatter the characters. They're not afraid to not make it look nice.
Yeah.
And I like that because it totally fits the tone of this film, and it just gives you that disgusting. It just really emphasizes that nasty tone that this film does have. And yeah, club sequences have some great colors.
I also like the use of
Yeah,
time
I mean-
lapse. There's some cool
Yeah.
time lapses used. There's this one shot where he's in a bar and he's sitting there and he's in normal speed, but then everyone else is like
Yeah.
time lapsing around him, and it's also a dolly shot. It just looks cool. I didn't. Yeah, I thought the cinematography was pretty good in this movie. It's nothing great, nothing interesting that much, but it's like it's good. It works for the film, and it holds up. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for cinematography.
Yeah, I also gave it a 7% out of 10. I agree. Yeah, let's move on to editing, which is out of 8%. I think that the editing is actually really strong in this film because I love how fast paced the editing is, and in certain sequences like that nightclub sequence, I just think that they really get some great comedic timing out of the editing. Like for example, there, especially paired with the soundtrack, and also there's just some really like discombobulating editing choices for when he's high, or when he's going through withdrawal or ODing. Like they just have these very trippy effects and very trippy feel to all the edits, especially during the withdrawal scene, where it's just like mass cutting all these different weird angles together, and he's sweating, and there's just crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like I love that vibe.
Yeah, I agree. It's very cool editing. Some great choices. And overall, everything was solid throughout the film. Editing-wise, I didn't catch any continuity errors. I didn't catch any continuity errors. It worked out pretty good. And some pretty cool choices, I think. Yeah.
I think that like the editing has some really strong like creative input to it, but also I don't know, I just feel like during the dialogue or like during conversations it didn't really impress me that much. Like it was fairly basic for a lot of the film, but then when you had these more intense moments, it really picked up and actually showed some pretty forward-thinking editing techniques that I was fairly impressed by. So, like, I don't know. I would say the editing is above average, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's not really anything wrong with it either. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just like how fast-paced the editing is, too. I think it really adds to the feel of the movie. And honestly, I've been giving editing 6 out of 8 whenever it's like solid, and I feel like this is a little bit better than solid. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 8 for editing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the 6 kind of, for me, like, it doesn't mean average, obviously, because it's a 6, but for me, a 6 is like when it's very solid and there's nothing wrong with it, but also there's nothing really to wow me. Like, this film had some sequences that I thought were really, really well edited. Like, say, even the opening, I think, is super well edited. And I also just love how quickly they're not afraid to like change the location. Like when he moves to London, they don't need like a montage of him going there. They boom, they cut straight there.
Yeah.
So I gave it also a 7% out of 8.
Nice.
I thought the editing was one of the strongest parts technically of this film.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, let's move on to acting, which is at a 10%.
Acting out of 10. I think the acting is pretty strong.
Yeah. I think that especially in the main ensemble, like the five guys, the acting is super strong. I thought that the parents were like notably worse in this film. I thought some of their performances were pretty forgettable and even cringeworthy at some times. But I don't know. I think Begbie, Sick Boy, Spud, and Renton are all really great performances, and even Tommy his actor gives a great performance.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that Ewan Bremer as Spud was a little too over the top at times.
Yeah,
I was
same here.
having some moments where, like, it's okay to be the top in this film because it works, but there's some times where his facial expressions and stuff were just a little, like, crossing that boundary of just a little too over the top.
He's a little too dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought that my personal favorite performance was Johnny Lee Miller as Sick Boy. I don't know why, like, Sick Boy doesn't really do that much, but I just loved his very condescending, like, sarcastic nature and his outlooks on life. And I don't know, he just gives great facial expressions and reactions to stuff. I also really like Robert Carlyle's performance as Begbie.
Yeah.
He's just funny, and obviously he's just off the chain.
Yeah, he's
hilarious.
got like Joe Pesci vibes in a Martin Scorsese movie.
Exactly.
I really liked Robert Carlyle. I thought he was really strong in this film. And Ewan McGregor, he holds this film up on his shoulders.
Oh yeah.
And he got some good performances here. But
for sure.
I
think Ewan
know.
McGregor's super strong.
I just
And I also
yeah.
I think Kelly MacDonald as Diane is also great. She does a great job. She's hilarious. I mean, they just get hella good jokes out of their relationship together. And I mean, with the budget only being 1.5 million pounds, which is, I don't know, $3 million. Dollars. I don't really know the conversion, but they were able to put together a pretty solid, Scottish cast. There's no big names per se other than Ewan McGregor, but I think that for what they were working with, the actors are pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I just was a little. I wasn't as impressed as I feel like it could have been with acting. I think they were good. They were all pretty solid, but I got some supporting characters that weren't that great. And yeah, I thought Spud was a little too over the top for me. Not bringing it down that much, but
True.
I gave it an 8 out of 10 for acting.
Yeah, I also gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't know. I thought that the main kind of performances were really strong, but yeah, some of the supporting cast just wasn't that great. And that's kind of to be expected of the more lower budget films when you kind of have to, pick what you're going to spend your money on. You can't just focus on the cast because you got to get all the locations and stuff. So I don't know. I thought the acting was pretty solid though, overall.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into entertainment value out of 10.
This film's really entertaining.
Yeah, really
I love
entertaining.
this. I love this watch. It's hilarious. It's intense. It's over the top. It's like an action-packed 90 minutes. This is just a great film in terms of watchability, rewatchability. I mean, comedies in general are, but I feel like I could watch this film pretty often. And it just keeps up that pace. There's really no slow moments in this whole film. And I really appreciate it for that because it just adds to that, hectic, crazy life that Renton has. So I think overall that this is a super, super entertaining film, and I would highly recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This was my first time watching it. I was thoroughly entertained as I was watching this movie. Weren't any moments that I felt bored. I was very entertained. It's nice and short. It's very funny. And yeah, I thought this was one of the more entertaining films we have done so far. Honestly,
For
one of the
sure.
most entertaining films we've done so far.
I mean, these characters, I love to watch these characters. Like, they're very over the top and like exaggerated, and for that reason, like, it's just a great watch because you can just sit back and watch these characters get into crazy situations, and it's very, very entertaining.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I gave it a 9% out of 10. I wasn't like dying of laughter the whole time, but pretty close. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 9 out of 10. You gotta just be like really entertaining, get that 10 out of 10. But it was close. I was
I know.
debating it on this film, but not quite
Yeah,
there.
I don't think I've given a 10 yet. So
No. Yeah.
I'm saving that for like the films I've seen like 10 times because they're that rewatchable.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Overall technical achievement out of 15. I mean, technically this
that's
film, yeah, it's fine, but it's not a grand achievement by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of the technical aspects were really wowing me. I mean, I am taking into consideration that this film is made in the 90s, so you got to, take that into consideration. It just literally films from this year. You could film it on a phone and it would like be in higher quality.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but I mean, it just gives that modern film look that I'm so used to. When I go back and watch a film from kind of before that style, they all just don't look necessarily as good.
Yeah.
But I mean, taking that in consideration, I think that the editing's pretty strong. I think the cinematography is pretty strong. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it technically. It just doesn't really wow me. Doesn't take me to that next level. I wasn't really noticing anything
Yeah.
that impressed me technically, like some other films we've done.
Mm-hmm.
It was solely like the characters for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. It's good. It's solid, but it's not that impressive, and it doesn't really like take any risks by any means. It's not trying to be
True.
anything. It's just
But it does what it needs to
Yeah,
do.
it does
though,
what it
at
needs
the
to
end
do.
of the day.
yeah, and
It shows these characters. This film didn't need any crazy editing or cinematography. So
yeah.
yeah, I gave it an 11% out of 15 in terms of technical achievement.
Yeah. Okay. I gave it a little higher. I gave it a 12 out of 15.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Because the editing brought it up for me just a little bit there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
12 out
True.
of 15.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick break and calculate our final scores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we'll spin the wheel for next week and see what we're gonna review then.
Yeah. Okay, we are back. We've tallied up our scores. We know we know our overalls. Let's do this.
Yeah.
What was your total percentage?
Overall, this is my second time watching this. I have a special place in my heart for Trainspotting. But I mean, with how like mixed creatively and technically our ranking system is, I feel like it scores a bit lower than I would like it to.
Yeah.
Overall, I
Yeah.
gave it a 79%, which is not bad by any means. And it's not my favorite movie by far, so I'm pretty happy with that. 79%. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it an 82%.
Nice.
82, which I feel like is solid grade for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that averages us out to an 80.5.
Which ties it with Enemy.
But we're closer with Enemy, which means
Yeah.
that Enemy gets the edge on Trainspotting. Which means that Trainspotting is going into 13th place.
Or 14th, right?
Or 14th?
Yeah, 14th. 14th place. It's above Sing Street. It's above Where
Yeah.
the Wild Things Are. It's breaking the 80 barrier average, which is
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty much the recommend barrier, like the we liked it barrier kind of thing. Not like obviously anything is. I like all the films we've done so far, but
Yeah, I'd say once it gets like lower than a 75, that's when you start to get into the not as great.
I love how we say that, and every single film we've done so far is above a 75.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we don't have many bad movies on our wheel. That's the thing.
That's true.
We got a few.
Recommend us some bad films, guys. You can
Yeah.
recommend any film you like for us to review. You can recommend Cats or any.
We got Cats on the Wheel.
Right, Cats is on the wheel. Oh, that'd be a hype one if it landed on Cats. Yeah. So hit us up on our Instagram DMs. You can recommend any film you like, and we'll put it in the queue to be added to the wheel.
Yep.
And speaking of the wheel, let's spin that wheel and see what film we'll be reviewing next week.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too.
I
We're
like
we're kind
spinning
of
this wheel.
we're in the period where we've put ourselves through the grind of watching like all the 2020 films, and now we're done with that. So, we're not watching as many movies constantly. So, I'm hyped to get a good one.
Yeah, like to get a good one. Okay, so I pulled up QuickTime Player.
Trusty old QuickTime Player.
Let's screen record. Okay, let's do this. We are spinning in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Ooh.
What are we landing on?
Ooh.
Oh. Okay. Okay, we've landed on a movie called About Time. This is our first, I guess, romantic comedy.
Oh. Okay. I'm excited to watch this. I'm down with some rom-coms. It is 2 hours though. It's a little longer than I'd like for a rom-com, but well.
Okay, but this is the thing about this movie. It's not really. It's a rom-com, but it's also like, I guess it's a lot more focused on father-son relationship.
Okay.
Kind of thing. It's the same director as our Love Actuallys and our Notting Hills, so we're definitely gonna get some.
We got an expert on the subject.
Modern rom-com vibes.
We have an expert on the subject. Okay, well, I've never seen this, but it looks like it's on Prime. It's streamable on like Trainspotting. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
Yeah, okay. I have the plot summary here. Whoa, okay. Like all the men in his family, Tim Lake possesses the power to travel in time. With the advice of his father, he uses this special ability to pursue his romantic interest, Mary. That sounds a little bit creepy, I'm not gonna lie. Like
it's like, is
this like a sci-fi rom-com?
I don't. It's not really sci-fi, but I mean, it's not sci-fi. It's just, I don't know. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time.
Okay.
But it's a good R-rated rom-com. That's what
nice.
I will say. It's got, it's funny. It's British. You got some good.
Ooh, I do love me a British film.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think that
sure.
concludes our Trainspotting review. Join us next week, and we'll be reviewing About Time. It'll be my first watch, and yeah, should be a good one.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Slightly Qualified Film Students.
Make sure to tune in next week for a new film discussion and review.
Our theme song is Slightly Sexy by Thompson Springs.
Make sure to subscribe and leave us a like.
Send us feedback and comments as well as your thoughts on the film. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at S_Q_F_S.
If you would like to send us a question or a comment for next week's episode, you can email us at sqfilmstudents@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.